then I went into this rant about how much I hated cushioned toilet seats because they were big in the South, and my grandma had cushioned toilet seats, and I always said it feels like you're shitting on a couch.
Hi, how are you?
Hi there, Tom. How are you?
Nice. I'm well. Thanks for asking. Congratulations on the book. I really loved it.
Thank you. I'm glad you took time to read it. That really means a lot to me, actually. Thank you.
Talk to me a little bit about Harriet Tubman. So I know you found out about her in school. Was your infatuation with her immediate, or did it kind of come later?
Well, I don't remember not knowing about Harriet Tubman.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure where I learned about Harriet Tubman, but I certainly ended up like whenever we were doing book reports in school or history reports in school, I would always choose Harriet Tubman as an option when I was allowed to. Because I just found like every time you hear about Harriet Tubman or learn more about her, there's just always something astounding, like something truly astounding that you find out every single time.
I'd love to hear some of that. So I think Canadian audiences who would know Harriet Tubman would know sort of one thing about her. Would you mind giving us a few astounding things about Harriet Tubman?
Well, what's the one thing that Canadians know?
About the guiding of enslaved people during the in the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Harriet Tubman actually made several trips to Canada near the New York Canada border because of something called the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which said that no matter where you go in the States, if you were formerly enslaved, you are now a fugitive, and anyone who helped you is also a fugitive as well. So then, they used to go to Pennsylvania, which is pretty much the cutoff for the Mason-Dixie line, but then they had to start going all the way to Canada toward the end.
What's the most astounding thing to you about Harriet Tubman?
One, that she had like precognition, that she would like actually get signs from what she would consider God telling her where to go, what to do, how to go there, and how to avoid danger. And it's been corroborated by a lot of historians that she evaded danger multiple times on these trips back and forth. I'm also astounded by the fact that she is the only woman in the history of America to ever lead a U.S. military mission. She was a spy for the Union. Um, she also was proficient in navigation, and also through water as well. Um, she she was under 5 feet tall, which I just find to be a fun little fact about her. She had a pretty severe brain injury that caused her to pass out for hours at a time. She lived to be almost 100. She was in her 90s, like 91 or so when she passed away, roughly. There's just this can go on and on like forever and ever and ever.
My guess is that when people wanted you to write a book, they were probably looking for the Bob the Drag Queen memoir. Here's what it
Hmm.
was like. Here's what it was like being on Drag Race. Here's what my life was growing up. Here's what's like, there's the bar my mom owned, blah, blah, blah. And then you decide to write this novel about Harriet Tubman. Am I on to something that there may have been a push for you to write another book and you wanted to write this one?
When I was given a book deal and they were like, "Do you want to write a memoir or like some short stories and stuff?" And I didn't want to write that book because I wouldn't read that book. I wouldn't want to create something I wouldn't want to create a piece of art that I wouldn't want to consume. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would never read that book in like a million years. I would never read that book. So I just didn't want to write it. And I think that people think that my life is way more interesting than it is, but it's actually I'm not doing anything crazy. Like I don't even go out. I don't even like going to restaurants. I'm a very I'm a very indoor type person.
Yeah.
So my memoir, and I know people are like, no, it'd be great. I'm telling you, it would be a bad book. Just I trust me, I know my life better than anyone else knows my life. The book would not be interesting. It would be a very boring book. It'd be a book about writing this book.
So, so you turn around and say, no, I want to write a book about Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, well, I was already writing a play about Harriet Tubman actually, and then I was like, oh, maybe I could actually form this into a book, into a novel instead, which is exactly what I did. Yeah.
What were the reactions that you got from people when you told people what you were working on?
When I announced the title, a lot of people thought it was a bit, that I was like lying. It was a joke. A lot of people kept being like, no, what are you, I don't know why, but actually, I do know why, because the title does sound quite absurd and it is intentionally absurd. But people would be like, people just didn't believe that I was actually writing a book about a book about this specific storyline. And a few people who know me from reality TV were like, I got a lot of stay in your lanes. Maybe you should stick to wearing dresses, those kind of things. I did get a lot of that as well.
You got a lot of like, hey, this is not you're not here to write about historical figures. You're here to do a dance or something.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really imagine people with multitudes, and I do have multitudes. So I am a comedian. I am a drag queen. But I also am apparently a New York Times bestselling author too, so novelist. So
I'm glad you brought up multitudes because that was something that was on my mind reading this book and thinking about Harriet Tubman. And I mean this in the most respectful way to both Harriet Tubman and to you. I was sort of taken by the moments where Harriet Tubman gossiped. Like,
yeah,
there's this like apotheosis that we tend to do with historical figures where we turn them into gods or infallible, perfect, pure beings. I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about the decision, if I'm onto something about your decision to have Harriet Tubman kind of gossip in it.
Well, I said in the first chapter about, Darnell trying to make sure that he allows Harriet Tubman to be a human as well as this iconic figure. And it'd be a little silly to imagine that she'd be, immaculate in any sense. Um, and of course, this is just my imagining of Harriet Tubman. I don't know that she was a gossip. She might have been the most tight-lipped person in the world for all I know. This is obviously just my reimagining and my the Harriet Tubman that I built for this world, the things that I've written in the book, the current day things she obviously did not do. The things that I've talked about in the past are corroborated by many historians. And I just wanted her to be relatable. I wanted her to be. I also wanted the book to be a fun read. I didn't want it to be a slog. It's really a lot of time when you hear stories about enslaved people, it can be really just kind of be trauma porn. And I didn't want this book to be that.
Am I onto something at all with the idea that we sometimes show a sort of a one-dimensional figure of these sort of like beloved historical figures?
I think that is true, but it's because of the way we were taught about them, right? So when we're taught about someone like Abraham Lincoln, we're taught that he was this abolitionist who just really wanted to end slavery and wanted to help the Union. But the truth is, he was not an abolitionist. He had a lot of problematic views. He was probably gay. There's like a lot of stuff that we don't know about, Abraham Lincoln. Not that being gay would be a demerit to someone's character, but we're not taught these things, that he had something of some people would consider a loveless marriage, that we don't know these things. So when you're recreating them, did Abraham Lincoln have a temper? I don't know. Did Harriet Tubman like to gossip? I don't know, but in my book she does.
And it makes them to me more fulsome people. It makes me think about them differently. It makes me admire them more. It makes me realize that people who have done great things aren't cartoon characters. They're just like you and me.
Actually, I think that cartoon characters are often written more complex than a lot of our
Sure. Yeah, okay.
historical
Yeah,
figures.
I got you.
But the difference between writing Batman and Superman, Batman is infallible. He has a perfect moral compass. He has no blind spot. He barely has any weaknesses. So writing for Superman is much easier for the writer, but it's also a little bit more boring for the viewer or for the comic book reader, which is why I think Batman comics are so well. So like I think it's why Batman is probably one of the most popular comic book heroes, is because he is one completely human. He has no powers, and he obviously has a temper. He obviously holds grudges, but his North Star, his compass does point north, but he's also battling his own personal internal demons on his conquest toward helping and saving people.
Right. So I mean, we get that kind of context from Batman and from Superman, but we don't often get them for real life historical figures that we admire.
Yes, exactly. We really harp on the really really positive things as opposed to things that could be considered less savory.
Oh yeah, or just human. I also want to talk a little bit about the music that accompanies this book. Just take a listen to this.
Born and raised in America, I'm American, but I'm also black. But the crackers ain't give me shit. Spent my life trying to reckon that, from slave to free to escaping from the hunting ground. First name Harriet, nickname Moses. I'm the queen of the underground.
That is Bob the Drag Queen performing Queen of the Underground, a song that accompanies his book, Harriet Tubman, live in concert. Bob's my guest right now. Tell me about that song.
I really love that song. I'm really really proud of that song. I wrote that song, my God, maybe seven. I started writing it maybe 7 or 8 years ago, when I first had the idea for this for the play. And it's my take on Harriet Tubman performing her music in the new millennium, in the new century. And she's just she's trying to use music to reach people, which is not far fetched. Actually, she actually did use music. A lot of conductors on the Underground Railroad use music to to in their works to send messages, to let people know that they were there, to take them to freedom, stuff like that.
How did you land on hip hop for the preferred genre for this song?
I just love hip hop, and it's the music that I write the best. I mean, I imagine if it was someone else, it probably would have been a gospel album. But I don't write gospel music, so I just really took the things that I love. Like I said, I wrote a book that I would want to read. I created a piece of art that I would want to consume.
It sounds like it was fun for you, if you don't mind me saying.
No, for sure, it was very fun. It was long. It took me 4 years to write the book, and 5 years from the time that I got the book deal to the time that I read the last words on the audiobook. It was a full 5 year process. Um, I lived a lot of life in there. There were some stressful moments too. I missed a lot of deadlines. I missed a lot of deadlines to get this book written.
What kept you going when the going got tough?
It's a project that I've been wanting to work on for a long time anyway, and I got a lot of grace from the publishers and my editor to help me. I had a very nurturing team throughout this process. So I just wanted to finish. I am a goal-oriented person, and this was really new for me. I'd never written a novel before, so this is my freshman novel, and I'm really proud that I was able to make it on the hardcover fiction list, which is apparently the hardest list to get on for the New York Times. And I'm really, really proud of myself.
It sounds like it was meaningful to you.
No, it was meaningful. I mean, you don't do things for accolades, but it certainly is nice to get them.
What kind of performer did you want to be when you were dreaming for yourself?
An actor. I want to be an actor. And then I remember falling in love with stand-up comedy in college, wanting to be a stand-up comedian, and pursuing that. But it was always like on stage acting or some sort of stage performance.
How did you find stand-up?
Someone once told me if you want to be a good stand-up comedian, you should your first set should be a rant. Like, what can you not stand? Write about that. And that's what I did. I actually was writing stand-up for maybe like 2 years before I ever actually got on stage and did it. I bought this book, like one of those journals from Old Navy, and I just wrote down all of my thoughts and my ideas by hand. And then I eventually got around to performing on stage when I, built up the courage.
What was the rant that you did on the first gig?
I remember being confused about keep off the grass signs and being like, if you can't walk on grass, where can you walk? And then I said, having grass you can't walk on. I was like, having a toilet you can't shit in. And then I said that, and then I went to this rant about how much I hated cushioned toilet seats. Because they were big in the South, and my grandma had cushioned toilet seats, and I always said it feels like you're shitting on a couch whenever you're using a cushioned toilet seat. And that was one of my first rants. Yeah, there was also a bit of humor about being a gender nonconforming person, and
Yeah.
going around New York City in drag, and which bathroom should I use, which honestly has really come full circle these days.
Oh, I thought the stand-up comedy preceded you finding drag.
No, my first drag performance and my first time doing stand-up were on the exact same night.
You're kidding me.
I debuted drag and stand-up on the same night. Yeah.
Because the story I heard is that it's when Drag Race premiered, you saw Drag Race, and that sort of inspired you to try drag. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was writing my stand-up before. So to be fair, you're kind of right. I was writing my stand-up before I ever got on stage. For like 2 years, I was just writing jokes and ideas and notions without performing them. And then after watching season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race, I was inspired to try drag. And then I decided to do my stand-up in drag for the first time.
Okay, so the same.
So you're kind of right, actually.
I'm only ever kind of right, by the way. That's all. That's the best. That's the best I can ever hope for. That's the name of the show, Kind of Right, with Tom Power. Though we got co-opted by a political show. I don't even know if I have a question on that. But what a big night to do both drag for the first time and to do stand-up comedy for the first time.
Yeah, I was able to convince a lot of my coworkers at this restaurant I worked at to come out and see me. Like 20 of them came to see me. It was kind of even the producer was like, no one brings 20 people to a bringer show. Like I only had to bring 3 people, but I ended up bringing like 20 people to come see me.
If we were looking at the movie version of your life, the flattened
again, a very boring movie.
Is that the moment that Dreamweaver plays in the background and you realize everything changes?
I don't really have those moments. I feel like when I'm doing interviews and stuff, I feel like I should be saying stuff that's more like, and then I realized, but like, I don't really think like that. And I've always believed in myself. There was never a point in my entire life where I thought I wasn't going to make it. I just kept thinking to myself, like when I wasn't famous or when I wasn't having all these accolades and stuff, I thought it was weird back then. My life makes more sense now that people that people, recognize
Yeah.
my talents than it was when fewer people were. I was like, you guys are crazy because I'm pretty fantastic.
No, I hear you, and but I understand now. I'm not asking. Do you realize I'm good? I'm good at this. I have confidence. It's do you realize like okay, everyone gets it. Like that now it starts. Now it begins.
People have always thought I was really funny. Like I've never been like, will they like it? I've always been like, when they see it, they will love it. I've always been like, once people see me, they're gonna be like, this guy is really fantastic. Um, so maybe, but I will say, if there was a pivotal moment in my life where people started paying attention to me, was certainly when I was cast on RuPaul's Drag Race on season 8. That was definitely a moment that would be a very pivotal moment in terms of how I'm perceived for sure.
So if you have any questions for her in terms of character or inspiration.
What's the best hand to slap a hoe with, like the left or the right?
And did you go in saying, judging by just the chat we've been having so far, did you go into that going like, oh yeah, I'm going to win this?
Yeah, I thought I was gonna win the moment they called me. I was like, well, why would I not win? That'd be crazy if I didn't win.
Is that true?
Yeah, of course. What? Is that weird?
No, it's not weird. It's good. I mean, or you know what I think it is? It's like, I think a lot of us feel that way sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think I got it, but it's not
But I
really.
think you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to be more humble. You're supposed
Yeah.
to be like, I'm just so shocked. I think that's what you're supposed to do. But the truth is, I'm not shocked that I'm a New York Times bestseller. I would have thought it was weird if I wasn't. I'd have been like, that's weird. This is a really good book.
I just love it. So when you were on Drag Race, when you got there, were you confident the whole time that you were going to win it? Or were there moments where you were like, I don't know if this is going to...
Well, there was a moment right before the finale when the Drag Race Twitter or the Drag Race Instagram posted the final 3 and was like, who do you all want to win? And I was in second place. And I was like, wow, the fans really want this other person to win more than they want me to win. Maybe I'm delusional. Maybe I'm actually crazy.
Nope.
But she didn't win, so.
Nope, they weren't. No, they weren't. You weren't. Maybe I'm delusional, maybe crazy. Nope, all good.
Yeah, they were delusional. They were crazy if they thought she was going to win.
Give me an example of like, well, let's not get into like the movie version. Give me an example of a phone call or a meeting or something that happens after you win Drag Race that didn't happen before.
A lot of stuff happened. I mean, I have managers. I have a team. Before it was really me. It was me doing basically everything. I didn't even have designers. I made all my own clothes. I did all my own hair. I made my own mixes. I did all of that for myself. So I think that getting booked outside of New York. I think the furthest I traveled before Drag Race was New Jersey,
Really?
Staten Island to do stand up. I had traveled around doing theater, but I had not traveled that far doing my drag before. But I think I may have done like one gig in like Florida, but it was like after I had filmed, but before it had aired down in Fort Lauderdale. And that was actually really fun as well. But obviously, a lot of people they start taking me more seriously. I was on like the biggest drag competition in the world, so I was kind of touted as one of the top drag queens in America, and just taken more seriously because I had that credential.
So obviously, Drag Race, as you say, changes everything. You become really well known for that. You end up on the Traitors, where you become really well known for that. And then on the Traitors and on Drag Race, you become really well known for these compilation videos of you reading people and roasting people. I want to play a clip from the Traitors. This is when you were going head to head with Dylan Efron, Zac Efron's brother. Take a listen.
What would Bob do? Bob is an amazing actor. I grew up with an actor.
Not a good one.
You're an amazing actor. You
So
are.
you're telling me because I would be good at it, that's just so now you're reading Alan's mind. And I don't even think you're a traitor, but you are misguided. That should be your drag name. Welcome to the stage, Misguided.
That's really good. But I was watching you during. What goes through your mind hearing that?
Well, they cut out my favorite part where I say, "You're a mess." That's actually my favorite part when I just go, "You're a mess." I still think it's funny. I think that I did a really good job there, and I think I defended myself really well. And when it came time to vote, I think he was the only one who voted for me. So I think I did a really good job defending myself there.
Were you good at roasting or reading right away?
We used to do it in high school. We used to call it jonesing, and we used to do it a lot in high school. I was really, really good at it. We would like gather around, and two people would go back and forth making fun of each other, and I've always been really good at that. I guess I have a quick sense of humor and a very biting tongue. I'm really good at making observations and pointing out things that other people probably don't notice or even consider to acknowledge. And when it came to, calling out Zac Efron and Dylan Efron, I was really just, being myself, being silly. I don't have any hard feelings toward Zac or Dylan Efron. I actually like Dylan Efron a lot. He's a really cool cat.
Don Rickles used to tell this story that he became so well known as like a roast comedian, or like I think back then they were called insult comedians. Like he was known as an insult comedian.
Comics,
insult comics. And he would be like, at a restaurant, or he'd be at the airport, and people would be walking up to him and going like, "Hey, Don, make fun of my wife," or like, "Hey, Don, make fun of my friend." Do you get that in your personal life?
Fans would be like, "Read me," and I'll be like, "No, thank you. I don't want to. Like, I'd rather just take the picture or maybe say hello." Also, you kind of gotta know someone to read them. Like, if I literally know nothing about you, like, what do you want me to call your boyfriend fat and ugly and short? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't know anything about this guy. And so, I do get it a lot. I don't particularly care for it. But people are going to do it anyway. It doesn't matter if I say I don't like it. It's going to keep happening regardless.
Yeah, because I mean, I would not want it. I would not want you to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, make fun of me. I'd rather not. Like, I'd rather just, and also, like, I don't like, especially if they meet me out of a work context, or they'll be like, "Now don't read me," and I'm like, "Why would I read you? Like, you're literally just delivering me my French fries. Like, what would I say?" Like, you literally showed up, asked me for my order, I gave it to you. You gave great service. Like, why would I read you? That seems. I'm well socialized. I know how to navigate through society.
One of these days, you should just do it though to an Uber Eats driver who doesn't expect it, just shows up, just gets destroyed.
I wouldn't even know what to do. It'd be so out of left field. Usually, if I'm in a context where I'm reading someone, it makes sense for the context. Like, it always makes sense when I do it.
Why do I waste my time doing that, bitch?
I want to go back to the book, to Harriet Tubman live in concert.
Mm-hmm.
One of the themes that runs throughout the book is the idea of fighting for the next generation, of making things better for the next generation. I have no idea. I'm having some idea what your answer might be to this, but as someone who's been an advocate, an outspoken one, for a lot of folks, for the queer community, for people of color, I could keep going on throughout your career. Did writing this make you think about legacy? Did writing this make you think about what your legacy might be, or the idea of legacy at all?
The short answer is yes. I think that your legacy, you have a lot to do with it, but also it is in the hands of the people who behold you as well, right? So it's how you're perceived. It's all of your actions together. I really don't like the idea of being a role model. It stresses me out because I'm not trying to live my life to anyone else's ideals of what I should be. I want to be fallible. I want to be able to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. That being said, I do think that there is I feel like I have not an obligation, but just a really strong desire to stand up for rights, or to call out injustice when I see it. Not every single time. I don't call it every single thing I see. I would never stop calling things out. I would never have time to socialize if I was just calling things out nonstop. But I actually don't think that people have an obligation to do that. Some people aren't built for that. Some people are not made to be calling stuff out. I was doing this TikTok live one time, and it was a bunch of trans women in there. We were all talking about fighting for your rights and what it means to be an activist. And there were these like 3 trans women who were all like, "I'm in the streets, I'm marching, I'm getting petitions signed, I'm knocking on doors, yada, yada, yada." And there was this one girl who was like, "I don't want to do that. I don't want to knock. I don't want to march. I don't want to preach. I don't want to be an activist. I just want to receive the benefits from you all doing it, but I don't want to do it." And you know what? I actually think that's really valid. I actually don't see anything wrong with that. She's like, we're not all meant to be marching. Everyone's not meant to be in the streets marching. You know what I mean? It'd probably be more impactful if everyone was, but everyone doesn't have the capacity. Everyone doesn't have the ability to do that. Some people just want to reap the benefits. But if you are doing that work, you have to be aware that you're doing it for people who also don't want to work for it.
That's such an interesting and brave and honest thing to say. Like, I know a lot of people, that's actually a really tough thing to say, which is, I believe in everything you're talking about. I don't really want to do it. I'm just not built that way.
I mean, so if you say liberty and justice for all, do you really mean all? Do you really mean all? Or do you mean the people who fought for it? You know what I mean? And I think that sometimes people who put themselves on the front line, what you're doing is you're offering to pick up the check. You're not offering to split it. You're offering to pick up the check. So just pick up the check.
And then you have Harriet Tubman.
There you go. Who buys the whole restaurant?
Yeah. Hey,
And
nice,
everyone eats free.
nice to meet you.
You as well. Thank you.